Hi, thanks for tuning in. Today's stream is brought to you by Collab Currency, the leading investor in Web3 consumer products, an internet game, which is the game you're about to be watching. Let's dive in.
All right, next up, Jack, we got Ben Roy, founder of GoodMinds, Accelerant Art. And maybe he'll talk a little bit about his new project that he's also spinning up. Ben, let's bring him up.
What's up, guys? The Jack and Ronan show. 3.5 hours almost. This is wild.
Yeah,
still going. You got a suit. Look at you.
I put on my finest apparel for this stream.
Yeah, for real. That's awesome.
It's a work day, and to quote Alec Baldwin, I'm not a farmer. So let's get into it.
There you go. Let's go. Let's go. I feel like I'm more in the crypto uniform, the hoodie, you know. Anyways, what's up, Ronan? Go for it.
Yeah, so a little background. This quickly turned into the Tired Show as well. This is one of the best IG players so far, if not the best. So he's just been ripping.
I thought this was you.
Oh no, hell no.
I was gonna be very impressed. You're like, how are you hosting and gaming? That's crazy. Okay.
Nah, nice. Tired's a pro. He's in the bottom left corner right now.
Gotcha.
Hey, you can still be impressed, okay?
Yeah, dude. I'm still very impressed. That's awesome.
Yeah, but Ben, I guess if you want to give a quick intro, how you kind of got into crypto, what you kind of started out with, and where we're at today.
Yeah, let's go. I feel like everyone I chat with has like a good story of, I bought crypto early and like didn't, I forgot about it and then came back or something and I made a bunch of money and that kind of, it's always financial. For me, it was more like I actually listened to an XRP podcast when I was working in politics, which is what I was doing before crypto, and like working in international trade type stuff. So when you think about it from that perspective, XRP kind of is like, oh, maybe banks will use this. This seems interesting. And so like, obviously it's a bit of a joke. I came quickly into Ethereum land. Both my parents are tech entrepreneurs. So the idea of like a platform you could build stuff on in an open source way was just interesting to me. So this is probably 2019, I'd say. And yeah, like got into it at that time. There wasn't really a lot going on. You could follow most DeFi stuff. Really, it was like Uniswap, compound synthetics, this kind of thing. And followed that, went through DeFi summer, long story short, I think found my kind of niche in NFTs and have been part of a few different projects here and there, both anonymous and as me doxed. And yeah, kind of at the moment, I'm doing a couple different things. One of them is GoodMinds, this NFT project. Kind of like the way that we think about it is it's almost like a test net for the NFT space. Like you want to be kind of the friendly neighborhood PFP project that helps different projects win, right? And so we've done a bunch of little experiments here and there, and that's been fun. And then A2, as we call Accelerate Art, is like more the nonprofit sort of side of things where you want to celebrate emerging artists and things. So those are two of the bigger things I do. But yeah, kind of came through the interesting like XRP to ETH to DeFi and NFTs route.
That's awesome, Ben. Just a quick shout out to Tired. I think he's working on damn near a high score.
Yeah, this is PB by a lot.
Let's go. Well, Tired just set the new stream record, and I believe, is that a PB? Yeah. Let's fucking go.
Nice. Let's go, man.
That's probably
you gotta throw that up there.
The best score.
You got to tweet that.
For internet game,
No,
you think
don't
that's
tweet it because then people will try to beat it.
You think that's top for internet game, probably?
Oh, top 10 for sure. I'm just wondering if it's first or not. I mean, besides me, of course, like I'll beat this. But I'm saying,
Awesome. We'll get shit Tired. Let's go. I'll drop it in chat. Well, Ben, I did have a few questions ready for you. Particularly about what you were doing at Tribute, how you kind of saw that ecosystem shape up. I know they got their hands just about everywhere in crypto these days. Maybe some of the learnings you had there, and maybe more in depth on GoodMinds after that.
Yeah, sounds good. So I want to say like early 2021, sort of when punks started picking up. I became friends with a bunch of people through that, and we started this little DAO, which was basically like us YOLOing into a Gnosis safe and saying like, oh, let's like buy some metaverse land together and see how it goes. And long story short, that ended up being kind of merged with some of the stuff that Tribute was up to in kind of metaverse land, and that ended up becoming Neon DAO. And so that's kind of how I initially got connected to Tribute and that whole team. Worked there. I just quit a couple months back, and basically the job is you're a DAO operator, which to me is kind of like a 50-50 between like wearing the junior VC hat and being like a community manager, basically. So you're taking pitch calls and you're doing lots of the investment side of things, but then you're also doing the more social side of like managing these investments in relationship to the people who are actually making decisions, right? All these DAO members. And so at the time, for me anyway, it was the Lao, Flamingo DAO, and Neon DAO. So you kind of have this like full stack crypto with the Lao, like NFTs with Flamingo, and more this like metaverse gaming type stuff with Neon. And yeah, it's interesting. Just sort of, I don't know what my main takeaways are. I think there's wisdom in crowds. Like there's like maybe an obvious thing, but you realize people hash things out, and some people come up on the other, like on opposite sides of a topic. And it's just interesting to watch like 50, 60 pretty smart people go at something. And often the truth or like the best plays do come out of that, versus trying to like, kind of like make it on your own as the lone trader type of thing. And yeah, I think like it's interesting to just think about DAOs versus crypto native VC even, because there's like a pretty deep sentiment in the space that's like anti VC, and yet there's kind of a lane where these DAOs, they have capital, like they have a lot of connections, and a lot of these projects want them in their round versus like a VC fund. So it seems like there's kind of like a market for getting into deals in that way that is interesting, and so those DAOs have all done well and kind of been a big sponsor really of a lot of the action in each of those buckets in crypto.
Awesome.
That's kind of the quick spiel.
Yeah, we can stop there real quick, just touch on a couple of those things. It does seem like this kind of DAO-ish sort of investment DAO structure has like a lot more value add. And I don't know if that's just due to the nature of the participants, just because they're like a lot more plugged up. But either way, It's been super cool to watch. I guess juggling off that, you talked about how you kind of played this like crossover role, right? Where you're like half community manager, half fielding deals. Which do you maybe enjoy more or think you're better at, I guess? That might be a loaded question, as it's maybe your role is best kind of in the middle, but curious to get your thoughts.
It's a good question. I think you gotta like you work in a DAO setting like that, and it's really like relational or communal. Like a lot of the deals, you're kind of either on pitch calls with a lot of the DAO members themselves, and you're acting as a facilitator really, right? And so to me, the like social community side was probably more my skill set, or I found it more fun, because like it's fun to hear a pitch or talk to a founder, talk to a team, but a lot of that ends up being admin related, right? Where you're just kind of doing paperwork, or you're teeing up some deal. Where on the community side, you actually get to talk to people and sort of like plan stuff and do calls and like learn from them in a way that you probably wouldn't get that exposure in a normal fund. Because there's like 50 people, all like independently, very smart, like often very successful, like OG crypto people. And you just get to see like into their heads, right? Like what are they looking for? What do they see in a founder? And being able to kind of facilitate that was probably more fun. I guess like it's kind of a little bit off what you're asking. I think that was also probably what I was better at. Like I just like that social side, being able to get to know people and like facilitate conversation where it's funny, like and can get kind of spicy sometimes when people disagree, right? And if you want to fund in a DAO structure, it's not just like some partners making the call. You do need to kind of get consensus. But yeah, I if I had to pick one, I'd go for the community side.
Cool. I wonder if that sort of consensus leads to like a higher hit rate, or if it just, maybe brings in better quality deals to start, but it's interesting to think about.
TBD, probably. I mean, these DAOs have like, at max kind of a 2-year track record. I guess with the Lao, it's probably 2 and a bit. So we'll see. I think like it's mostly thinking about this almost as an angel collective. So the deal flow is pretty crazy that way. And then you have 60 people to kind of come through and vet what's going on and make bets. I think like some funds might outperform that if you have really, really solid partners. I mean, Collab is a good example of that, right? Where you've had some home runs, but it's probably harder, like net, right? If I had to bet on like DAOs versus funds as a category, I would bet on DAOs every time, because I think there's just like that collective wisdom. A couple funds will outperform, but I don't know that many will.
Yeah, and maybe like as like it seems like the people who are doing the DAOs are kind of the heaviest hitters. So it's like maybe that there's some dilution as you go down the line and more people spin it up solo. But again, I kind of agree with you that consensus probably wins out in the long run. Cool. So let's get into GoodMinds. How I see it, it's kind of like a test subject for all the coolest and most innovative stuff happening in crypto. We just had the Hook guys on right before you. I don't know if you saw that in the lobby, but maybe you could even just talk about the integration with Hook and how that kind of kicked off.
Yeah, totally. So basically, like the long story short with GoodMinds is a bunch of these people had been around NFTs for a while, and we just felt like, okay, it's time to make a project. And we kind of came across a great artist, this guy Stefan. And so we thought, like, what can we do that's actually a little bit different than just we made like a 10K PFP project, like mint and gamble on this, please. Give us some money. And like the idea was like, how do you do something interesting? And so we felt like we wanted to price it low, kind of make it accessible, and then actually use it for kind of education and experiments and testing, because that's something that you can actually commit to as a loose like roadmap, where it's just like, hey, we want to be a resource basically to these projects like Hook. And so for Hook, they're doing NFT options. It's hard to break into that. Like there's not a lot of people who are super into NFT finance. They need like a sample project, right? And so for us, if our NFTs are like $30 or something, you can come along and actually give them like 50 NFTs, and they have like an ability to, you can write options against them, etc. People can come through and experiment with the platform. And so, I just got to know Jake and Reggie, and was like, these are sweet guys. Like they're building something in good faith. That's what I would want to see like win. Who knows if like NFT options become a thing at all? But if they do, I hope, those guys are up there. And if you can use a project to do stuff like that, or, we need some Arbitrum NFTs with Treasure, and have a couple other things in the pipe for the next few months, just to, in bear market times, like push the space forward in some small way. I think that's kind of the win.
That's awesome. And just jumping backwards a little bit, you kind of mentioned like the wisdom of the crowds and how it's kind of obvious, but like I felt like in the bull market, you almost wanted to be fading the crowd. And then in the bear market, you kind of wanted to be with the crowd, because it's like, those are all the participants. And if everyone's kind of buying the same thing, you probably want to be on that wave. How have you just seen sentiment wise? You've been here for a little while, just like this bear versus maybe like the last, and just, how you're seeing the space today.
Yeah, I think maybe one clarifying thing is it depends on what the wisdom of the crowds means, like which crowd you're in, because a lot of those crowds in like the DAOs, they could be like 30 people or something. So you might fade like the general sentiment of the space, but you find kind of like the wisdom of the wise people in those circumstances. And that's kind of maybe the differentiator. I don't know on market stuff. I mean, it's hard, right? I think if anyone tells you they're an expert, they're probably lying. Like, I don't know too much about macro stuff. Like, even as someone who's worked in policy, international trade stuff, it's just hard to know, right? Like, I think my kind of working assumption is you got 6 to 12 months at least of trickier time here. And, thinking beyond a 1 year time horizon is very hard. Like, so much happens in crypto, right? And so I think we're probably, kind of flatter down, and I don't know for sure. And my word doesn't really carry too much weight, but the better framing, the better framing in my mind anyway, is like, it's kind of a bull market for social capital. And I worry less about like the bear market of prices, because the people who are here and like being able to build relationships with those folks are what make the bull like worth it later, whether that's 12, 18, 24 months from now. Just being able to do cool stuff with cool people, right? Like that starts now in these groups and in these chats and things, the people who stuck around. And so I don't know, but when I talk to people, obviously it sucks to lose money or to be down bad or whatever. A bunch of people are struggling in those boats, but if you do stick around, I think like there's a lot of upside at that social level for one, and you just do some cool stuff.
Yeah, it's funny because you always hear about like whatever, like the tales of the 2017 winner, right? And it's like 2018 winner, and how it felt like everyone was gone, sentiment was dead. But it's like, at least from my level, this is the only one I've been around for. It's like, it still seems like a lot of people here, and broadly that's probably true. That like there's just like way more people here this time than last time, so that maybe contributes to like maybe a better sentiment. But yeah, very cool. Jack, I know you had a couple questions.
Yeah, I do.
Hit me, Jack.
Actually. Okay, so I'm very interested in the experimental nature of GoodMinds NFT. You mentioned Hook Protocol as like an excellent way of testing out this options protocol, getting it on the platform. Are there any other experimental use cases that you're particularly proud of?
Yeah, it's a good question. So Hook is like the one that we've done on the like NFT finance side, and we have, I think, maybe 2 other ones that we'll kind of explore there. But one of the things that I actually think was most interesting was what we did with PopRank, which is this like aesthetic ranking platform basically. And so for people who are, familiar with NFTs and kind of did the minting and gambling situation over the last 18 months, you have like a rarity structure, right? That happens in these collections, and people kind of ape the rarest one, hoping that someone's going to buy it for higher. And it's kind of based on nothing, like just traits. that may or are artificially scarce.
Yeah.
And so what Pop Rank does is like you vote collectively, basically, as a hive mind to pick like what the most rare aesthetic NFTs are in a collection. And so you're obviously gonna have some rarity that's based on like, hey, there's only 50 of these and 1,000 of these or something like that. But it allows for that qualitative side of things to come out. And so being able to do that and then invite people in who have like no money, right, to participate, to vote, to kind of like express what they think is the nicest thing. And then we gave away a bunch of NFTs related to people who participated there. That's something that I think was fun. Kind of like it's a small thing, but trying to make stuff accessible like that is still, I think, important for us. So that would be one example.
It's like Tinder for NFT aesthetics.
100%. It's literally like the guy, my friend Ilan, kind of designed the voting app sort of in a similar way, where you have two options and you click one or the other. In this case, it's a comparison thing, kind of like the original like Mark Zuckerberg Facebook thing, where you're voting like hot or not type of thing.
Yeah,
no, still doing my attempts.
Hey, Tired, I think you might be unmuted right now. There you go.
Just so in his zone.
Yeah, no, he is. Totally lost my train of thought there. Something about Tinder. Oh yeah. So the reward pools, is that something that was like a limited time offer? Is there a consistent reward for participating in this rating system?
Yeah, good question. So the way that I think about this is like you want to try and reward people who participate in your ecosystem. And I think, yeah, like what we did is for each time we've done a partnership, whether it's kind of like with Hook or with Pop Rank or kind of with Treasure and doing stuff on Trove, we've created some level of an incentive for people to be like, if you don't have any money or if you only have a very little bit of money, you can still participate. And we'll give like a reward system that's like just particularly around that one thing. Mm-hmm. But we also are trying to loop people in. So we're going to do, alpha leakage. We're going to do like a fractionalization thing. With another unnamed collab portfolio company. And I think like one of the ways that's interesting, to approach this is you can take an NFT, you fractionalize it, and you can give a lot of that away to people who participate in these various partnerships. And so the short answer is like, there's nothing available right now for people to do that they can kind of win an NFT, but over time there always will continue to be. And I think like we'll take into account people who like messed around with Hook, say they wrote options in Hook, like they'll probably maybe be, involved in future reward schemes. And so we're trying to do it in a light touch way where it's not just like a total Ponzi where you just always get rewards for everything you do. Hopefully it's still meaningful, but hopefully that answers the question.
That was a delicious piece of information. Thank you for giving us a little nibble. Is there anything else that you would like to mention in terms of experiments being done by GoodMinds NFT?
I think what we're trying to push on, and we don't like necessarily have an answer for this yet, is like, how do you actually do something with CCO? So, GoodMinds is a set of 6,000 NFTs. There's like 4 characters in there, and then there's CCO. And so people, they get stoked about this. And, we've had sort of maybe 6 months of thought leadery type stuff where people get excited about CCO and what it could do and what it could mean. And it's not super widely used, right? Like some people have done stuff with nouns, and that's like kind of it. And so we're trying to figure out what do you do with GoodMinds to invite people into that like CCO-ness of our collection. And so we have a couple things kind of in the works on that front. And I'm not going to leak it completely because they're not fully formed ideas, but just, I think like as we move forward over the next, say, 3 months, there's a few partnerships in the works. And what I will say is like most of them are geared towards just trying to get people to come and like create or share or do something with the NFT. Because so often, like, especially in bear market times, you have these NFTs and you're kind of like, well, what about that? Like, what are these things? Like, what's the product? What's the point of it? Mm-hmm. And so if we can figure out a way to sort of get some creation going on top of our set, I think that would be a win. So that's kind of like what I'm thinking about at the moment. Right.
This is a really cool, really, really, really cool project. What's your background where you're able to feel so comfortable in these kind of fringe areas where you're experimenting? Some succeed, some fail.
Yeah, that's a good question. I think I've always been a little bit of a misfit on that front. Like in school, I studied international relations, which is like effectively a sexy way of saying like 6 different disciplines at the same time. Economics, politics, like geography, all that stuff, right?
Yeah. Let's learn all of geopolitics. You got 4 years.
Like, sure, you can learn all of those disciplines, right? Effectively, it's like this is the non-committal degree for ADD people who are into humanities and social sciences. And so when you take that kind of like sensibility, I guess, to crypto, my version of things, or like my preferred way of working, is just to constantly be experimenting, to be doing new things, because you really get like a kind of an overlap or a cross pollination among the things that you learn, right? So NFTs kind of interact with DeFi, and then maybe your NFT stuff does like CCO stuff, and you're talking about licenses. Maybe the project, like a bunch of the stuff in the project fails, but you're able to make a bunch of relationships out of that, and that, leads you to something else. And I think, I don't know, I like crypto specifically because it's so emergent. Like there aren't a lot of structures or rules or like trajectories that you have to follow, where you're like, you have to do a job like this. And it's like, no, I'd rather do, 2 or 3 things 20 hours a week, and see what you can do at the intersection of those things versus just doing one thing in the traditional way. So I don't know, some of it, I guess, is temperament, and some of it's also just like what crypto lets you do, right? Like if you're able to mess around and experiment, why not?
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Ben freaking Roy, would you like some round robin questions to as we close this one up?
Let's go. Happy to do it.
All right. So just for some context of like, what are we looking for with these sound bites? We want. Yeah. Sorry, I just spoiled it. What are we looking for this round robin? We're looking for hot sound bites. We want to go viral on TikTok. So,
all right, let's go.
What advice would you have for your 20-year-old self?
Say to my 20-year-old self is basically don't sweat not knowing what you need to do with your life. So much of it's just going to happen off the cuff, and be okay with that, because I feel like it's actually less stressful over time to have to worry about, like the kind of trajectory of a single career versus just being able to be open to what comes.
That's really good. What is your, who do you believe? God, my tongue's starting to get like all
Take 3, take 4. All good, man. Take 4 hours and you're getting it. Yeah.
It's got exhaustion. Who, in your opinion, are the best accounts to follow on crypto Twitter?
Let's specify this though. What category? Let's give them a theme.
Yeah, I was just gonna say.
Okay. Which category do you think you could provide the best accounts for? Not to answer your question, but
yeah. Probably DAO related accounts, if I had to guess, or if I had to pick one thing.
Let's do it.
Cool. So I guess on the DAO front, I'm a little bit biased. Like my 2 former bosses, Aaron Wright and Pri Desai, are both great follows. I feel like they run Tribute Labs, and they're a great pairing because Aaron is kind of like the intellectual Twitter, and it makes you think, and Pri is like the shit posting Twitter, so you got the like real takes of what happens in a DAO. There's a guy named Chris F. Derek at Collab is another great follow for these sorts of things. But those are 4 people that I think are all worth following, that like spend a lot of time in DAOs and kind of have a range of content related to it.
Okay. And now this is our final one. And
all right,
this one, take some time on this one, because it seems like people don't want to step on any toes.
Yeah.
But what would you say is your hottest take in crypto?
I think my hottest take in crypto is that you should build for the people who are here and not worry about trying to bring new people in. I think something like GMX is a good example, like where people trade perps on Arbitrum. The whole product is geared on like crypto native people, just like degen, trading and these kind of things. And I think we get too obsessed with trying to get like, we need 1 million users of this crazy product to be in the real world. And I'm like, no, you need people to use it who are here, and invite other people in from the outside into that culture over time. And I think, that's like a design mistake that most VCs make, or most investors make. Like focus on who's here.
If you build it, they will come, sort of thing.
Say again, Ron.
Say that again.
If you build it, they will come, sort of thing.
Yeah, I think like so much of it's just like trying to figure out, how do you see who is here and see what that culture is, and like make it grow natively, versus trying to turn around and like build something like Top Shot. Again, you asked for like a hot or like contrarian take. I think a lot of people are like, oh, like millions of people use Top Shot, that's obviously a success. But my sense is like the things that last, it's like Aave, you know what I mean? Like people know what it is, the crypto natives use it, they will tell their families about it. It's kind of like a winning from the inside versus like trying to go out there and collect people. And that kind of like focus on crypto native products, I think at least in the short and medium term will be the way to win. And if you can win that, then you have like the brand moat to become the more retail friendly thing later, versus trying to be, all things to all people, basically.
Okay. Ronan, do you have any follow up on that one? Because I got one. I think we got time for one more.
No, I love that answer because and I guess for the NFT side, people are like, oh, crypto Twitter NFTs never work. They're always whatever. They never catch traction. But like, I think the opposite is true for like some of like the actual crypto native protocols. So yeah, love that take.
Yeah. I mean, like so much of it comes down to like we created a subculture, right? And as soon as a subculture becomes mainstream culture, it's like boring, right? And so I think trying to double down for now on what is this subculture and like how do you grow it like slowly or moderately over time versus trying to turn into like the next Mario or like Hello Kitty or something, right? Where it's like that global reach. I just find the crypto native side of the stuff way more interesting. And I think if you really look at who's stuck around, they would probably say the same thing.
All right, and here's our final one.
All right, let's go.
What 3 projects do you believe are flying under the radar?
I think my favorite project in terms of like this bucket is probably Forgotten Runes Wizard Cult. Like if you think of the addressable market of Dungeons and Dragons, like Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, basically like fantasy stuff, it's massive, right? There's like hella nerds all over the planet that like love this stuff. And I think that's one of the kind of projects where you get crypto native culture expanding out into the real world. Like Dada, the founder of Wizards, has made it clear. He's like, I want to be a top 10 fantasy franchise like of all time, like up there with these great stuff like Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter. And I think it's one of those things where it's not like getting hype bought frequently, where something happens with Yuga Labs or something and people buy apes. But yeah, I think one of my hotter takes is like you're going to see Wizards go up at that price point, like where apes are today, 6 figures type of thing over time. And they have like, to me, the clearest like 10-year plus roadmap. I think, another project that still probably doesn't get as much appreciation and is close to my heart is Squiggles. It's like obviously now become a bit of a shelling point for people in crypto or NFTs and in art. But I still think that's super early. There's only whatever it is, like 2,500 owners of Squiggles. And there's a lot of even crypto people that I know who are like, nah, like this is still pretty whacked. I'm not going to buy one of these things. And so, I mean, like on the DeFi side, it's still, people know what it is, obviously, because Artblocks went crazy. But I think, like the NFT people get the thesis, but a lot of the crypto Twitter sort of like more DeFi OG types still are like, like, I don't know, man, it's still a squiggly line. Like, I don't know. And so, Squiggles, Wizards. I think if I had to pick a third one, let's see. I think probably like Chili's, like the sort of social token ecosystem around soccer is interesting to me, specifically because it's like one of those things that brings other people in at a retail level. Like there's not a lot of crypto projects you could point to where you have like small dollar retail buyers from outside our weird like degen universe that would actually like interact with a crypto token. And so like soccer, everyone loves soccer, it's the biggest sport on the planet. Like if there's some way of making the kind of that touch point for normal retail people interesting, all of a sudden you could have like one of the biggest crypto related applications on the planet. So 2 NFT projects and a social token project.
Okay.
I like that.
I'm blown away by the Chromie Squiggle one because that is the genesis point of so much like on-chain culture. Yeah,
totally, man. No, I'm a big advocate, but I don't think it's quite there yet. It'll be bigger one day for sure.
I agree. A little bummed we didn't get the chance to talk about Internet Game, but GoodMinds was so exciting, and we had the gameplay going on the screen. Thank you.
Thanks, Tired, for crushing it in the background.
Dude, this is one of his best runs yet, by the way.
Yeah, he's doing so well.
See, we can't hype him up. We're gonna jinx him.
Now you can't watch. It just has to be going on in the background, right? Anyway, well, thanks, Jack. Thanks, Ronan. This is fun.
We really appreciate it, man.
Totally. Hope you guys have a good rest of the day, okay?
Thank you, sir.
You
Take
too.
care. Bye.
You bet.